Nice, mate.
Nice. Got like a boxing style intro. I don't know how to do it.
Have you?
Yeah, we're rolling, aren't we?
Do you want to play some Rocky music to get us started? I have done that, by the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth,
Hello.
the gent.
Oh.
It's Pete Kent, everybody.
Good to see you, brother.
Hello. It's very, very cool to have you here, man.
Thank you. Lovely house and lovely surroundings.
Thanking you, sir.
Very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
let's talk about, let's get into like the how we know each other first of all.
You might have to remind me.
The other thing is, I should say I never call you Pete.
No, you don't.
Really.
I've noticed that today.
I don't know if we're going to start that today. We'll cross that bridge
Just
when we
call
come
me
to
whatever
it.
you like, mate.
Yeah,
It's all
so
good,
me and Mr. Kent, we met. It's got to be 10 or 15 years ago, I would say.
It's got to be that, yeah.
I think we'd kind of. I'm not sure if we'd musically come across each other, in terms of like career-wise.
No, definitely not.
Because there's a little age gap. There's not much between us, and we share many of the same interests. That's peanut. But we met while we were working at a school, and maybe you could like pick that up there, Kenty. Like,
So
what were you doing? Like what you were doing and stuff.
Did we meet at Morton? Is that
Yeah.
where we met?
I think so. I feel like.
Okay.
think so.
Okay, so Morton...
What were you doing?
So for those who obviously don't know what Morton is a secondary school in Wolverhampton, in what is classed as a fairly challenging area, which I think is a bit of an unfair thing, but it would be classed as that. So I'd worked on that estate for, God, probably 15 years, 16 years in total. So I did 10 years at the primary school, and then I came to Morton, after 10 years of working next door at the primary. Which
And
is
was that a music job?
No. So I was the...
I mean, I know it wasn't, but I want.
Okay, so I was the local truancy officer. So I would help children back into school if they were truanting from school, and also family support. It was basically an in-school social work job, is what it was, and it was really, really hard, really challenging job. But I loved it, absolutely loved it. Very, very rewarding. But yeah, it was difficult. And then when I came to work at Morton, you were working there doing music, weren't you? So you were teaching guitar and drums and stuff.
Yeah, so I turned up. I think you were there a little bit before me.
I don't think so. I thought you were there first. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Anyway.
yeah. Who knows?
I'm not sure.
But we met at school, and my first memory of Kenty was somebody. I think the head of music at the school said, because I'd been employed to teach guitar. Have you seen Pete Kent play guitar?
Okay.
And I was like, no. Well, maybe we'll have to be introduced. And so that's where it was for me. And then the first time I think I really saw you play was we used to do, and that's why I brought up the school first, is because we used to do these school CDs that I would produce, right? Yeah. So I would bring in some of like my little, like a little setup and produce these CDs. And, you would get kids on there and you would get teachers on there. And it was like, there was the whole, shout out Smithy, shout out Mr. Bediaco.
Yeah, good crew. Such a good staff they were.
It was like a great staff, and like many of them were like weirdly musical. Yeah. And it was like the whole gamut from like, some like really talented kids, some like quite funny moments. And then like, you had people like Pete walk in and, so that was the first time I saw you play. Okay. And you were already doing the fingerstyle stuff at that point.
I would have been doing fingerstyle gigs by that point.
Were you? Right.
Yeah, I think so. I'd one or two. Yeah. I hadn't I didn't at that stage think it was going to be something I'd do professionally. But yeah, no, I think I'd done a couple of gigs by that point, I think.
So I'm trying to work that out. So you were, at what point, I think the first thing we need to get into is like what point like you moved to fingerstyle.
Okay.
From, and we will get into your background as a player, but like I want to know like really what point you, because I think you were in your mid-late 30s when I met you.
Yeah.
So like by that point, I mean, if there's any other players out there, you'll know you change as a player as you go through. Presumably you weren't always doing fingerstyle.
No. I was playing electric guitar from like the age of 9 or 10. That's how tall I am now, by the way. But so yeah, I started when I was 9 or 10. and just played electric forever. I was aware of fingerstyle players when I was a kid, and I liked the idea of being able to play 2 parts at once on one instrument.
Or in your case, 3 or 4 parts at once.
Well, that's developed into that. But back in the day, it was like I used to listen to like bits of Chet Atkins records and stuff when I was a kid, and I could hear that whole thumb thing was playing, he was backing himself in terms of playing and stuff like that. But then I was born in the mid-70s, so I was just purely into electric rock guitar, like shred rock was like the thing when I was growing up.
So you were born in the mid-70s, so you're like a teenager in the
mid-80s. So mid-80s I was 10.
Okay.
So like late 80s I was like teens and stuff,
Yeah.
Pushing up to 1990.
So that early like music, like the first stuff you heard would have been like sort of hair metal, hair
metal was the thing.
Shred?
Yeah.
So talk us through what you were into.
I was like Van Halen was the whole thing for me.
No, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know
like
that.
The whole like, do you mind if I is playing okay? Or?
Yeah.
So that whole like shred guitar thing, he was like the pioneer of that when I was a kid. So he was like to me he was like the coolest guy out there. He was like doing something very different to the other players.
He sure was.
So it was all that kind of like sort of like all that kind of like crazy super fast tapping stuff and like harmonic tapping and all that stuff was just like I was very drawn to that. So my whole background of playing as a kid, like by the time I got to like 12, 13, I could play better than most adults, to be fair. I don't know, it's arrogant because I was literally raised learning that stuff in terms of playing lead guitar, So.
What was it like? You'll excuse the dog.
It's all good.
What was it like? What was the access to that music like? Because I was
very different, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, like how Van Halen is an American band, so how did you even?
The good thing for me was I'd got 2 older brothers. I was a bit of a late accident in our family, so I was like 7 or 8 years younger than my brothers.
Classic
stuff.
So
they were in their late teens, and I was like a kid. So that's where my access came from. So they were buying records. So buying records back in the day. So every Saturday they'd go to town, buy records.
I met your bro.
Yeah.
One of your bros, yeah.
So that so records would be in the house on a regular basis. So yeah, just from that really. They both play guitar as well. So
Did they?
Yeah. So they So they both still play. So there were guitars in the house. My mum played a bit of piano, so we were surrounded by music. So
that stuff fascinates me because I think sometimes you hear that. Sometimes people are like, yeah, totally musical family.
Yeah.
Other times, like in my case, there was no like Lucy's from like the Partridge family, the Phillips dynasty. Is
honestly,
they're all musicians.
Absolutely.
In my family, there's me and my bro, but I taught my brother how to play drums to join my band, right? Just because we needed a drummer. There was me, and then nothing.
Wow.
And there's like one guy, literally 100 years before, who was actually super successful. Gildesh, his name was Gilbert Thomas Pinfield, he was a classical recording engineer, pioneered a bunch of recording techniques. I say there's no one. My mom did play music when she was younger, but like many of that generation, she didn't have the option of not going to work. So it always fascinates me because that is not my experience at all.
Right, yeah. So my playing history came from that. I got quite disillusioned at certain points for different reasons, which we can jump back into my childhood and stuff like that if you want to. But I kind of got to a certain stage where the whole shred thing just started to bore me to death because I'd played it all my life. So I got to a certain age in my teens where I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I then joined some bands in the 90s and stuff like that.
There's an odd connection to one of your bands, isn't there?
Yeah.
For me anyway, I my best friend, his older brother's best mate was your drummer.
Yeah.
Small town.
Yeah. Small town.
So that maybe we should talk Tangent. Was that your first band?
First pretty serious band. I played in a band prior to that called.
Had you?
Yeah. We were called Warehouse. So we were just like with some local mates. But Tangent was the first kind of serious band we sort of, say serious. We kind of
relatively
some level of success kind of thing. So we did okay. We'd like entered like a local Battle of the Bands thing, and actually it was a national Battle of the Bands thing, so it was a bit of a big do kind of thing for us. And we managed to win it. The final was filmed by ITV. It was going to be piloted as like a TV show. And
Wow.
so prizes for winning were like, you'd go on like these BRMB, which was then a Birmingham-based radio station.
Yeah.
And they sort of ran these like sort of party in the park events. So Tom Jones was like the headline act, and they've got like steps and like all these kind of TV bop.
Do you know any
boy
Tom
bands.
Jones or? Do you any Tom Jones fingerstyle?
I don't. But you know what? It needs to be done, doesn't it?
It does actually.
So yeah, so we won that competition, and we started doing like these radio roadshow things and playing a few gigs and stuff. But we just couldn't really get any further than that. We discussed some record contracts and things like that.
How did that work for you guys then? Back then, did you have a manager, or like did you go down?
Crikey!
I mean, presumably like making demos and.
Well, initially we got picked up by Tom Jones's management, which I think their record label was Gut Records.
Yeah.
So we had like conversations with Gut, and they were going to release our stuff, and we just kept sending constant demos to Gut, and they were going to release our music, and we just got quite disillusioned with it in the end because it was taking forever. We were doing these quite big gigs, and we were making some good music, and nothing quite fell into place for us really.
It's a familiar story.
Yeah,
isn't it?
and as,
we've all got one or two.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a lot of bands are when you're in your 20s and stuff, we were mucking around a lot. We were drinking too much. We weren't that. We just thought it would all fall into place without putting the graft in, really. You know, I mean,
do you even know what? Like,
well,
think about. I mean, how many people at that age really know what? You know, in terms of like putting together a career. Like, I mean, in terms of like making a living. There's not many people. I don't mean many people that age that really know how it's going to work beyond.
I guess not.
Even today, when there's a lot more information out there, maybe that's wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, but it was great fun, and you know, when you look back on band experiences, as I'm sure you do, it's all great experience to what you do now and things like that. So yeah, the whole band thing was great. It was a really good experience, and then I came out of that and then I focused just purely on work in terms of doing the social work job.
So did you get? Was there a point where you like? Did that band stop and you were like?
Yeah, I'm done.
I'll say that again.
It's all right, mate.
Was there a point where you came out of that and you were done with it? And was there a gap between that and the fingerstyle career?
Yeah, there was a few years. So I pretty much didn't really play anything for, probably about maybe 3-4 years or something like that. I just wasn't doing anything, mate. And I went to see Tommy Emmanuel play. My dad had pointed out, he'd been to see, I think it was Bill Wyman's Rhythm Kings or something.
Nice.
Yeah, and Tommy Emmanuel was a support act. So Tommy Emmanuel, for those who don't know, he's a world-renowned fingerstyle guitarist. He wasn't at that point. He was I think he was living in England and just he'd managed to get on the support bill for Bill Wyman's Rhythm Kings. So my dad had seen them play. And then he was playing at the Robin in Bilston, which is a venue near to us, where I've played several times.
Yeah.
And my dad recommended that I go and see him. Now, that was on the day that Wolves got promoted from the Championship to the Premiership, because they were doing the parade of the trophy that day. There we go, in the background. So I remember that day vividly. I went to Molyneux to watch them parading the trophy for winning the Championship.
So what year was you will remember?
I think 2002, would it be, maybe? It's roughly there.
It's around there, isn't it?
It's around that time. And then me and a friend went to watch Tommy Emmanuel play, and that just kind of changed my thought process in terms of what a guitar can do.
That's interesting.
And I thought that's my out in terms of my boredom of playing shred and doing that kind of stuff. I want to try and broaden my horizons a bit and play something a bit different, you know.
That's interesting, man.
And also it reinvigorated my early interest at listening to Chet Atkins play two parts at once, and then I was watching this guy do that stuff in front of me. It's like, oh God.
I'm seeing how it connects for you a bit more now, because that was something that I was going to ask. Is like apart from the obvious technical stuff, is like how acoustic connects to kind of that shred world, you know, like the 80s metal world where you came from. Now I know you're not like, you know, I know that it's not as simple as that as far as the music taste. We've talked. We've talked at length, you know, about all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely.
But it's like guitar-wise, I suppose you might imagine that those things are poles apart. But they're also are they?
No, they're not. How my personal technique has developed, I've taken aspects of fingerstyle and I still drop back onto the shred stuff. So, for instance, if I'm playing like a bass note and I'm playing some lead lines. So that has got a constant, which comes from fingerstyle. Whereas
and there's two things there, isn't there?
So whereas the shred patterns, the lead guitar patterns, are from years of playing shred guitar. So I've tried to combine both styles into one. But that's how I've run with it anyway, for me personally.
I think for the armchair fingerstyle fan, like many people have just heard of Tommy Emmanuel.
Right.
Could you give us like a couple of you play a couple of his arrangements, don't you?
Yeah. The first things, I mean, we're both fans of the Beatles. We've discussed the Beatles music for years, haven't we?
Yeah.
So when I first went to see him in 2002, the very first thing I remember was him playing Beatles arrangements, and he'd done like Day Tripper and Lady Madonna and things like that.
Yeah.
I remember getting home that night with a friend of mine who would come to the gig with me. We were both decent electric guitarists, and I remember we both got home. We're like, we've got to try and do that, kind of thing. So you got that the Day Tripper bass line.
Nice.
But he was popping this chord underneath, which is that. Now that sounds really simple when you're playing
I've tried that, it's not.
It takes a long time to kind of get to grips with that stuff, but then he would play the lead line over it. Stuff like that, and then there was also the Lady Madonna thing, which was quite a,
so the technique, like how important was Tommy Emmanuel as a reference point?
Yeah, massively. But what happened at that point?
Did you already have some of the technique?
Yeah, definitely, because
I'd
learned some of the kind of Chet Atkins stuff prior to that, which was what they call Travis picking, bum chick, which you can do. I know you.
Go on, give us a quick blast.
So basically, the beginnings of that was just like the 3-string kind of thumb stuff.
Yeah. So you had this stuff already.
Yeah. Which kind of helps because it gives you that thumb independent stuff.
What's that called? What's that?
That's called Windy and Warm, which I think was written in the late 50s or something.
Yeah,
it's a very old piece of music.
The Chet Atkins and the Tommy Emmanuel kind of, I see that, and then like it kind of makes a lot of sense to me now how that stuff ties together. However, I'd say like you're pretty different to all of those people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say that like you've developed a very coherent style of your own, which I think like leans into almost that 80s beginning.
Yeah.
So like technique-wise, there's a couple of things that I always hear you do, or that I heard you do, and I've never really heard anyone else do. So like the cascade stuff.
Okay.
And I'm talking about, I heard this, like you doing this stuff when I first met you.
Right.
Everybody is on Instagram doing that now. Nobody was really doing that stuff back then.
No, not really. Yeah. As in the harmonic kind of stuff.
Like the cascade stuff and like the use of like the open strings.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Which I just thought was beautiful, really, because it like that tied into my like Johnny Marr kind of interest.
Yeah, right, yeah.
You know, like the voicing of chords like across the neck with the open strings. Could you demonstrate?
Yeah, just kind of like it depends what I'm sort of playing. Well, what key I'm in for a start. If I'm, I do a version of Ain't Nobody at my gigs.
Nice.
And I kind of when I start that because it's just in E minor, that kind of lends itself well to those kind of things.
Beautiful.
So that rather than me just play. All right.
Yeah.
So at least. playing in G. So that's just like stolen from Chet Atkins. They're kind of banjo rolls, yeah, but they're open string scales. Do you know what I mean? So I've tried to take those and just play them in different positions and stuff like that. And so on.
Yeah, that's super cool, man.
Cool.
It's a really beautiful thing, you know, the way you sort of include that stuff in your playing.
Thank you.
And it entirely you're right, or it certainly felt like I know you see that stuff around, but I don't see anybody else using it like you do.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the techniques are taken from various things, but what I have tried to do is what you said, mate. Is like I've tried to piece everything together in terms of my 80s shred, fingerstyle techniques, different things, and just try and make it my own kind of thing, really, you know. And it's worked so far. It's working, you know. So.
Like the most interesting players, that music is obviously you're gonna you're gonna magpie stuff, aren't you? You know, but the most interesting players, or rather the least interesting players, are the ones where you go, oh, they're just doing.
Right,
John Mayer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas the really the interesting ones, like a Johnny Marr, for example, I mean, is like, to me, like a really interesting one, is like, you know all the stuff that he's come from, but it's like a very unique thing on its own.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Coming back to your own arrangements, how much of that stuff do you consider when you're making an arrangement? Are you building that stuff in or not?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I'll listen, you've got amazing musical ears, by the way, so
thank you.
I'm sure you have the same thing. If you're listening to a song, you can hear separate parts. You can hear what the bass is doing, what the drums are doing, the keyboards, etc. So I instantly listen for if there's a good bass line, if there's a beat. I can kind of suss out by hearing a song whether or not it's going to work for a solo guitar. So I did a lot of.
We can put that to the test in a second. I've got a suggestion for you.
So
see what you think. You can rate mine.
So I've had a couple of viral videos. One was a version of "The Way It Is" by Bruce Hornsby.
Yeah, brilliant.
I did a couple of Fleetwood Mac tracks, and I've had their blessings for doing that stuff.
That's cool.
So I've had the recognition from the artists themselves for doing that stuff, which has been great for me. So, like for instance, that. So that song, if I had the beat and the bass,
please do.
Because like we were saying, it's like if I hear a song and I can hear that bass line and the beat, and it's going to work with everything over. Dogs like it.
Dogs love it.
So, thank you. So that
is super cool.
So,
man.
but I can instantly hear whether or not songs are going to be, if I can break them down into just solo pieces. So
it's a wonderful thing, man. The mix of like technique and musicality, I think, is what makes you stand out as a fingerstyle player. I you know, in the kind of the Instagram culture, if you want to say that, I think there's too much like leaning into like the standing on your head playing guitar, doing a little jig.
Yeah, it is a minefield out there.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think.
I think some of that comes with age, though. I really do. Yeah,
in what sense?
Well, I think the more music,
taste?
and the more music you listen to, you know, I mean, my tastes are so varied, and I think that does come with age, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Do you think your arrangements have got less, you know, technical as you've got older? In that case,
yeah, I think so.
Like you're more happy to like rely on just a beautiful. Chord sequence,
absolutely.
Played well or something.
So you mentioned that a song of mine called the Blakenhall Shuffle before we were rolling the cameras and stuff.
That's
okay.
my
So those kind of So those kind of tracks, I just wanted to blaze and show off what I could do as you know, in terms of speed and skill and technique.
And I get that, but what I really love about that is the chord sequence.
Right, okay. But now I've slowed down quite a bit in terms of writing and arrangements, I guess. I think so. Do you want me to play a bit of that song?
I mean, if you like, could you play like the chord sequence of it just to show like. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. And with the whole beat thing.
The whole lot, yeah. That's great, isn't it? That is beast mode, Kenton.
Thank you. Oh, I haven't played that for a long time.
That is an
It's very-
athletic arrangement.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is amazing, man.
You've got to be match fit to be playing those tunes like
Is
regularly,
it
but-
if you're putting that in the set, are you drilling that?
Oh yeah, I've got to practice that a lot. Yeah, so playing that.
I know
doesn't
I sprung that on
Yeah, no,
Ken,
it's
literally
all
10
right,
minutes
it's all-
ago.
It's all
so
good, mate. It's all good. But yeah, to play that stuff cleanly, because I could play that a lot better than I just have. But
I think you've been overly more.
or maybe. But I find that I've got to practice that stuff to keep it at the level I want to play it at. So whereas with certain other arrangements, I can just drop on those and feel very comfortable playing them, like I'm just playing a few chords. Do you know what I mean? But
I do.
stuff like that's a very difficult technique to nail.
Why is it called the Blakenhall Shuffle? Do you want to explain where Blakenhall is? And
Blakenhall is an area in Wolverhampton where we're from and where we are. I was raised very close to Blakenhall, and rather than being in school, I used to hang around the streets of Blakenhall, basically. So it was just written about me shuffling around the streets of Blakenhall when I should have been shuffling into school.
Kenty shuffling around Blakenhall.
I was shuffling around, yeah. So
it does have that like sense of mischief about it.
Well, it's got a shuffle feel to it as well, hasn't it? So I kind of use the word shuffle for shuffling, as in walking, and
I think this is a good time to come on to, like, you do some serious, like, for someone who, and I know, again, I'm not going to name any names, but like many kind of contemporary fingerstyle people, or certainly some, the actual, like, the kind of the songs themselves, like, and the kind of the titles seem like maybe it's a bit of an afterthought. Okay. You give great song title,
so,
an album title.
I've not really thought about that.
I've always thought that. Like, I mean, just
cool.
like your album titles alone.
Okay.
Right. I don't know whether you want to go there today.
We'll go wherever you want, mate. All good.
Let's just go through the album titles. Okay. So your first album title was Sands of Time, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like, so I was like, there's some thought into that, obviously. And the next one, Hidden Hand, right? Okay. So, like, and then the one after that, you've got 3 albums, right?
Yeah.
The one after that is Free Energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, like I mean, I'm getting a certain, like, sense of adventure in your thought process.
There.
Yeah. What I want to talk about Free Energy. What's the deal with that one?
Okay, so that was based on.
Is this Tesla?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And actually, Hidden Hand was from a similar kind of thing that I've been reading about. So, some people thought that the Hidden Hand was about my hands, in terms of I play a couple of things at once, but it actually wasn't. It was to do with some some conspiracy books I'd been reading, basically. So the Hidden Hand were classed as like the Illuminati, and they were, you know, like hidden sect or something like that. So that came from that. And the free energy thing came from a similar thing, which was about me reading about Tesla.
The Tesla thing's fascinating. Like, I mean, awesome. you know, I could talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah.
The Tesla thing is wild in it. Man. Like the idea that, well, I'm sure you all know what the idea is. I wonder if YouTube will demonetize us for like just even going to this stuff. But the Tesla stuff is brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, it's fascinating.
And so, like, does that, if you come up with the title and then, or you putting the songs together and then you're thinking of.
The title came later, actually. So I'd written all the songs and written all the music for that record.
The
Free Energy, yeah. All the songs had been written and probably recorded, actually. And literally, I think it was just something daft. Like I was looking for titles, and I happened to read something about Tesla, and Free Energy came up in a paragraph of something. I was like, that's.
Well, I think it's really cool. It's like I used to teach this man, and he was like, you know. I'm not going to use the word, but he was aware, right? Yeah. And he thought about things, and he was let's say a history buff, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, it's your duty as an artist to, like, if you have these thoughts and you think about it, to just to show it to people.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, it's not like ramming anything down it, and you know, because there's no point in that.
No.
But I just thought that was super cool, because we have touched on that in the past.
Absolutely.
I just thought that was.
Well, one thing I've tried to do, my social media does quite well, and I've sometimes got quite a bit of attention around me as a player, and you know, different things like that. One thing I have decided I will do is keep things like politics and my opinions on the world separate from my music. I'll do music and I'll keep my opinions separate from that. I think probably if I was a singer, I'd probably think differently, because I'd want to say things. But so yeah, I'll just sneak things in here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
For my own, you know, gratification, I guess. Really.
Yeah, and like,
you know what I mean?
well, just because it's an interest.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I just I never talked to you about that, and I thought
that. Yeah. I mean, but yeah. So the whole Free Energy thing. So the cover of that album.
It's a great shot.
Yeah. It's like some lightning coming down and lighting up a city, isn't it? That kind of thing. So that was like sort of fairly carefully planned, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was, you know. And Revolver were more than happy to kind of.
Were they? Yeah.
Yeah, they love all that stuff. Yeah. It was.
We should. I mean, like, you've been working with Revolver since I guess the beginning. At what point did they? You say Pete's got 3 albums out, as we've mentioned, and you did a single last year called Spirit Guide. Yeah. Which again, I mean, talk about a song title, right?
Yeah.
It's a great title. Cool. You know, it's like it's. At what point did Revolver come into the process? Okay, so and we still working at the school, and
I was. How did
it happen?
So well, when we'd spoken about my previous band Tangent, myself and Alex, the singer, we'd actually gone to Revolver to try and push our demo there. They just had no interest whatsoever. It's like, it's all right, it's okay, and you know,
because that's a label in Wolverhampton, and famously, if you look up Revolver Records, obviously you'll find Pete Kent, but you'll also find this amazing Stone Roses story, court case, Sally Cinnamon. We won't go into it today, but you know, you could go and look that up.
They're a very well-known independent label, aren't they?
Yeah.
Not just through the Stone Roses story. You know, they were heavy metal records. They've got subsidiaries.
Huge catalogue.
Yeah, massive catalogue.
And they're in Wolverhampton.
Absolutely, literally. So they're on Goldthorne Hill, and I was raised on Goldthorne Park.
Yeah,
so they were like walking distance, like literally 100 yards down the road from where I was born and raised and stuff. So initially we'd gone there to try and get a deal for a previous band. That didn't happen. I then really wasn't in any bands, as we've discussed previously.
You had
didn't really
your
do any playing. Yeah, I had a sabbatical, mate, to go into the world of education in Wolverhampton. So I started doing some fingerstyle gigs. I'd taken up fingerstyle. I was getting quite good.
What kind of gigs?
My very first gig was supporting Andy McKee at the Robin in Bilston. Now, Andy McKee...
He's on my list over here, yeah.
Right, yeah. So Andy McKee, for people who know fingerstyle, his videos were the most watched videos on YouTube for about 2 years. He was like a megastar in the world of... He'd done all this like kind of percussive stuff.
Is he still going?
Yeah, he's smashing it. But he's amazing, great player, really cool guy. So he did a song called Drifting that made him viral and made him massive and stuff like that. So I got the supporting him down there, and then suddenly got quite a lot of interest because he was a big deal, and quite a few. There were probably about 600-700 people in there that night, and I got the support gig. And because I was a local lad, people then started chasing after me, following me, and whatever. So I went to see Revolver.
Like a Hard Day's Night.
Yeah, mate. Oh, mate, screaming and everything. It's proper yelling and screaming. So I went to Revolver, explained the situation. Luckily, the main A&R guy at the time, who was a guy called Chris Woods, I think, he was very interested in the whole fingerstyle world, and he was
cool.
and he was like, "Can you play for us?" So it was like a proper old fashioned demo. Yeah,
1950s
yeah,
audition.
mate. I had to sit there in front of like the label,
smoking.
Yeah.
What do you think of this?
I was smoking very heavily then. But yeah, so I went in and played for them, and they were like, "Oh we'll sign you up, and we'll." So they funded the first record and pushed me and did stuff. So it was great.
And you've obviously continued that relationship.
Yeah, well, they're now very close family friends and stuff. You know, so
that's a nice position to be in.
Yeah,
I mean,
lovely,
so often that is not the case.
Absolutely,
is it?
and they're just such a lovely family. You know, just a great bunch. All good. So they've supported me for the last, I think it's 10 years or something, maybe. So
let's talk about the releases then on Revolver. So the first album, how quickly did that come out after you were taking it seriously, if you like? Did you quit your job and then?
No, so I got.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah. So I got offered the deal, and crikey, I think that first record came out while I was still working. And it didn't sell mass amounts of, it didn't put me in a position where I could quit work or anything. But
most of our viewers will know, the reality of what independent record deals are like.
Yeah,
but if you
absolutely.
don't, obviously most people on independent record labels also have other income streams,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. So I was still doing my day job, doing a few gigs here and there, released that record.
Yeah.
Started to get quite a big social media following, had a couple of viral videos and stuff like that as well, which was great. But that doesn't necessarily bring tons of money.
No.
You know what I mean? So it was like I've still got to do a day job to pay bills and function. And that's when, around that point, I probably started to look into teaching. Did some online teaching because I got a lot of requests for tabs and stuff like that, sheet scores of my music and things like that. So things started to grow from there, really. Teaching requests, tab requests, stuff like that.
So it's quite a smooth transition from... Obviously, you left education, but in a way, you were kind of still in.
Yeah.
And so teaching is a big part of your life now.
It's massive, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my main kind of income stream, really. I still get royalties from my music and stuff like that, and obviously I demonstrate for Ibanez guitars and I do clinics and stuff like that.
And tour, gig.
Yeah, gigging and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a kind of a combined thing nowadays. So
just
things
so
have
often
grown and grown.
Yeah. I don't really know anyone that's not.
Absolutely
not the case.
And to be fair, I quite like that because it's a balance of everything.
Yeah.
The only slight downside, as we discussed off camera and stuff, is like teaching has now kind of become so. I'm so busy with the teaching now that that's actually taking. Priority at the moment.
Which is fantastic, and I think you're what a teacher you would be. I'm sure you've got so much to offer in that. In that arena, to young people, as we've said, you cover, as a player yourself, you've covered so much ground, and more important than anything, you've just had years of living as a musician. And you've always done it, and that I think probably is as important as A minor pentatonic scale.
Absolutely.
You had this sabbatical that we talked about, and I said maybe. Part of your power as a teacher is that you chose music later. I don't say you chose music later, but you went all in on it at a certain point.
Yeah.
And that is so inspiring, man. I think to anyone watching this,
it was a pretty scary thing to do.
Do you want to talk about that?
So I was
that moment where.
So I'd obviously got a decent career, you know what I mean? I was earning decent money. I was working for Wolves Council, I've got a very sensible, well-paid job, you know what I mean? And then suddenly it's I got to 40 basically, and I get offered a record contract. I've got viral videos, I'm doing some gigs, things are really picking up, and I'm like, do you know what? I don't want to do this job anymore. Had enough. Go for the music and try and do something. So it was like either now or never type thing.
I don't know if you've ever met anyone that's been in that situation. Like, I don't think people come across that much. People hear about it a lot.
Yeah.
People hear about it a lot, but I don't think many people actually like encounter it in their lives or even come across it. I think it's just super interesting.
Well, weirdly, when I started doing stuff with Ibanez, at Ibanez UK, there's two guys that work there. One was a very high up policeman, and one was a very high up social worker.
Okay.
And they got into the music industry quite late. So the three of us will have that chat sometimes when I'm there. But besides those two guys, I've not really come across that many people that have done it. So it's a big leap of faith. One that I wasn't convinced would work, but it has.
The danger, I think, like with music careers, that you can put your toe in and like go, and I think we're all guilty of that to some extent, but to really like go for it, is like an incredibly powerful thing, man.
Well, I do try to encourage other people to do that, but I'll get a lot of like, well, you're naturally talented, Pete. You can do this, you can do that, and you're naturally this, and you're naturally that. But I've put in so much hard work. Do you know what I mean? It's not. I didn't just wake up one day and was good at guitar. I don't need to tell you guys, you're musicians, aren't you? So, the amount of work I've put into to develop my own style and be a little bit different and to get that attention where I can command work and, work for a brand like Ibanez and stuff.
Really have like just a rep that puts you in demand as a teacher. Yeah. It says a lot about your abilities,
Thank you.
As does the Ibanez thing, and I think we should jump over to that. Cool. That you're holding an Ibanez guitar. When I met you, you were playing. Were you playing like a Maton or something earlier? I've
still got a Maton. I still use that at gigs as well sometimes. But
it's a crazy guitar, that thing.
Yeah. But this one.
That is a beautiful guitar. I mean,
it is gorgeous.
When you started your relationship with Ibanez, like we knew each other.
Yeah.
And I think like your input into that brand, and I'm sure they'd agree. I hope they'd agree. I think your input into that brand has and people like you has completely changed the way they're viewed as a brand. Like, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. When you told me our Ibanez guitars, I was like, so you're going back to
to the shredding,
yeah. I presume, but I think like actually they're really well regarded for their acoustics.
Yeah. I mean, I think initially they weren't, were they? It was all kind of obviously
lesser known.
Yeah, I mean the whole brand was based on 80s shred players, really, wasn't it? And I bought my first series guitar, which was an Ibanez Gem, when I think it was my 18th birthday. So to then come on and work for that. Do some work with that brand has been quite bizarre, but like initially when I first,
it's a great connection.
Yeah. When I first started doing stuff with them, I always thought of Ibanez Acoustics as cheap and cheerful acoustics,
like
affordable,
kind of like
affordable brand,
a beginner kind of acoustic,
affordable guitars, really.
Yeah.
And that was probably the case when I first started to do stuff with them. But basically, I was given this guitar. This was a prototype.
Was it?
Yeah.
So
they gave me this when I first started. I've kept this for 10 years. This is an amazing instrument.
It sounds fantastic. If we're recording it, you're never going to get the full benefit of it. What you're hearing is, Kenty is like one kind of fairly badly placed mic, so that it's not like in the way of the shot, and then the DI in there, which sounds absolutely phenomenal, man. I mean, it's one of the best sounding DIs I've ever heard.
Excellent. So they gave me this guitar and just asked me to sort of play it, see what I thought, give them some opinions.
So you're like beta testing for them?
Yeah, basically, yeah. And then they invited me to Ibanez UK and we filmed me playing on it. So there's some videos of me playing this guitar on.
Yeah, we'll drop them in the
YouTube
description.
Channel. Cool. And then they released this as a model, I think. But then I think they ran it only for a couple of years or a year or something, because it was a high end. It's a very expensive guitar. The woods are really expensive and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think they felt that they'd gone from releasing affordable acoustics to then suddenly it's like you're now looking at $2,500, $3,000 acoustic. So it was a massive jump in terms of that scale. So what they've done over the years now is kind of drip
built the middle.
Yeah, exactly. And now, like, if you search Ibanez Acoustics online, there's just it's as extensive as their electric range.
Yeah,
probably,
it really
you
is.
know?
And
so they've really built as a brand.
And Fingerstyle, I think, has been instrumental
100%,
in their rise
I like,
as a brand for acoustics.
Like John Gom, who's from the UK, he's got like a signature Ibanez acoustic now. There's a guy called Marcin who, don't know whether you come across him, he's a very percussive guy, he's like drumming like everywhere. So a lot of the bigger name players are pushing Ibanez acoustics.
And it's a great looking guitar. I mean, the neck is like... the one thing, whenever I play whenever I play Ibanez's, like Ibanez's, you can check with them. Well, the one thing, like even like is it the Geo?
Yeah,
like the baby kind of beginner guitar.
Yeah.
Just like amazing necks on things, like even like the 150 quid Ibanez's, amazingly stable and playable guitars, and like that thing has. Has that in spades. I mean, it projects beautifully as well. Sitting next to it, it's a wonderful.
Cool. I mean, the neck on this thing is so thin. It feels.
It's just the right size,
right?
Shape.
So my gem neck, and obviously a lot of Ibanez electric guitars have thin necks, and this is exactly the same. So it suits my transition from being an electric player to a fingerstyle player. I can shred this thing. You know what I mean? Like I would on like an electric, you know. So it's. It covers all bases for me, this guitar. It's great.
And it's I mean, for fingerstyle, like action-wise, obviously you've got a great tech. If you have a look back on our channel, you'll see me hanging out with Pete's tech, Andy Neville. So what's Andy's take on him?
He loves this guitar.
Does he?
Yeah, in fact, he did some work on it yesterday.
Nice.
I mean, the action on that thing is like, there just isn't one. It's ridiculous.
Well, that's what, so like, you talk about that for a sec then, Pete. How do you like it for fingerstyle? How's it got
as low as possible.
So it is almost a shredder approach.
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah,
approach.
Yeah. So, and I do play with very light strings. These are actually gauge 10s. I've had some issues with my fingers and like a few tendon issues and stuff. I had quite a bad hand injury a few years ago and stuff. So let's not even talk about that.
I mean, your hand injury, right?
Oh,
whenever we make our bed, I think about that.
Yeah, cool.
That is
good. That's good. I'm glad it's had that impact because you will look after your hands, won't you?
I mean, that must have been because you were deep into your career as a professional guitarist by this point.
Yeah.
And Pete, basically, you tore.
I snapped. It was a complete tendon rupture in the end
that
of my
stuff
second
just
finger.
It goes right through me.
Wasn't nice. Wasn't nice, mate. I was tucking a sheet under a headboard, and I bashed my hand into the headboard, and it snapped the tendon in my end finger. So I was in a splint for God. I think
you
it was
would
about
not
6
play.
Months. No, I couldn't play, mate. I couldn't play really. So, but it's all right now. It's kind of healed pretty well.
Yeah, like you, but you don't notice any.
Not really. In the winter, it feels a bit numb and a bit weird.
But maybe that's just because we're getting old.
Probably not. I mean, my back's terrible. No, it's not really. But yeah, it's okay now. It feels pretty good.
Is there anything?
But it changed my approach. I had to kind of lessen my gauges and action and stuff, and you know. So.
Is there anything like specifically like that has changed in your playing that you've noticed as you've got older?
I've definitely slowed. I feel like I've slowed down a bit. So when I was playing the Blakenhall Shuffle earlier, I'm playing all these like super fast licks. Yeah. When I write now, I don't tend to do that as much. I'm a bit more. I feel I'm a bit more tasteful and
in your own stuff and the arrangements.
Yeah. I feel I'm a bit more aware of melody rather than showing off.
I tell you what, like one of my favourite arrangements of yours is the level 42.
Oh, okay.
So could you play a bit of that for us?
I haven't played that for like.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
No, I can't play any more than that.
That'll do me, mate.
Cool. But yeah,
so like that. I think the reason I brought that up is just because, and again, sorry for springing stuff on
right,
there.
Okay.
It's like got that Johnny Marr thing with the open strings and like the kind of the beautiful sound, man.
Melody's ringing over. Well, because I don't sing, I need that kind of ring, don't I? So it's got to keep those open strings ringing out for the length of the vocal note, basically. But Mark King was into that as well, so he retweeted those. I've done a couple of level 42 arrangements.
You know my connection to level 42?
No.
I don't know he talks about this. So my brother, I don't know. I'm going to say on camera. Tom, you can go to hell, Tom. No, my bro, his girlfriend Holly, is the daughter of Phil Gould,
Oh, no way.
the drummer,
Right,
from
wow.
Level 42.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Never knew that.
Yeah, so I showed.
Okay.
I've sent that to Holly. Yeah.
All right, cool.
She thought it was super cool.
Oh, awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
So Mark has tweeted my stuff. What's the keyboard guy's name as well?
Oh,
Can't think of his name. He's done the same. So a few of the members of the band have.
we needed like a Google guy.
Yeah, we do.
What's the guy's name with Joe? Like Jamie. Jamie.
Lucy.
Yeah, Lucy.
So
keyboard player from Level 42.
So I've been quite lucky with a lot of arrangements that I've done. I've been fortunate that quite a few successful musicians have kind of shared my stuff. So Seal has done the same.
Seal?
Yeah. So,
what Seal song did you do?
Nile Rodgers. So I did a bit of I can't see because I knock these out quickly and then I don't play them again.
No, I mean,
so
totally.
I did Kiss from a Rose, and Seal commented on that, and he was like, "That's amazing." Blah blah blah. Nile Rodgers did the same with I think it was Thinking of You. I did a Chic track, and he was commenting on that as well. So that's the beauty. Sometimes that's the beauty of social media. You can get those things shared, and me playing those arrangements have really worked for me. So
and you've like your arrangements were. You know, the way you became visible for those initially, as far as like from what I could see, even before like we really had any kind of friendship, you're on YouTube years before it was the thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Years before, right? You were filming like filming on a potato.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
totally. I put 2 videos up.
Was Roxanne your first YouTube?
No.
Hit,
I did. Oh, blimey, maybe. So I did Eleanor Rigby and I did Message in a Bottle.
That's right.
They were the first 2 that are very grainy of me just sat on my bed playing those things.
Yeah.
And they did okay. Like they did all right.
It was just totally different place back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, completely. And then
your Message in a Bottle is fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a hard one to play as well.
Yeah, I think what I think was important to remember with someone like Pete is that the and any musician really, like if I'm just springing stuff on it here, and this is like his whole career, right?
Yeah,
it's like, do you remember that thing you did 15 years ago? Like this incredibly complex thing from 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, how does that work for you as far as how do you pick your set lists and do you have to?
It's good to be able to drop back on things that I've not played for a long time. So I've got a gig coming up with, and Your Good Self will be joining me there.
Yeah, man.
Playing. Yeah, because my writing has kind of slowed down a little bit. I released a couple of singles last year. I've slowed down because it's purely because I'm teaching too much.
I know it well, man.
You know what it's like.
I know the deal.
So because I'm constantly working on other people's playing, I'm not working enough on my own.
I'm sure I've told you. I try and say it at least once every video when I'm interviewing someone. It's like the best piece of advice I ever had from anyone was for like a music career is like to, you know, everybody has like the 5 or 4 or 6, whatever aspects of their life, and you know you can't let any one of them go.
Yeah.
Because the minute you let it go, there's no guarantee that you'll be able to go. Oh, I'm just going to pick that back up because it might not be there.
Yeah.
Economically or like creatively.
Yeah, totally. So it's that fine line, isn't it, between business, making a living. I've got bills to pay. I live on my own. I've got my own place. It's like I've got to make sure enough income's coming in to pay all of those things, you know. So it's like currently the teaching has kind of taken over a little bit, which has impacted on performing, writing, gigging. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's
where
I am right now. But,
well, I tell you what it is
okay.
like, and I'm sure you would.
I'm certainly not complaining.
No, hell no. I mean, to be busy doing anything as a musician is a wonderful thing. So we talked about your teaching that you do now. Have you got any space for lessons if people like? No, sorry.
No. So in fact, I had a couple of emails this morning about potential. And I haven't got back to him yet because I'm not.
You don't
really
advertise,
busy.
right?
No. It's been word of mouth, really.
Yeah, that is the best. That is the way. That is all successful businesses, though, man.
Yeah.
I want to just hang on the teaching thing. Did you have a teacher?
No. Yeah, Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
Literally. So no, and honestly, I do think. I mean, you've got like incredible ears and incredible pitch. Now, I'm probably like you in the sense that like I can hear a song and deconstruct it pretty quickly, as long as I know what the first chord is.
Yeah,
I know,
right.
You can make an educated guess on what's coming next, can't you?
Yeah, of course.
But I think the difference between me teaching myself as a kid, we were listening to records and I was having to drop the needle back to learn solos and, you know, more intricate stuff definitely hones your ears better than getting a teacher to teach you things and stuff like that. I think if you train your own ear,
100%.
That's just my opinion. I don't know whether.
Well,
whether you'd agree,
I totally agree with that. Like the ear is the most important thing.
100%.
And that's what players of our generation. We essentially, although maybe my pause and rewind technology might have been slightly different.
Yeah.
We essentially learnt the same way, and that was like ear first.
Yeah.
Do you read music? You read tab.
I read tab. Yeah,
of course.
comfortably. I can read bits of music, but that's not my main thing.
No.
You
don't.
I don't really.
Never comes up.
No. No, not really. Only when I'm teaching. So if I'm teaching like a syllabus, there'll be like the rock school syllabus and stuff like that. Then I'll use the tab in there to, But I mean, I kind of know that stuff. You teach that stuff, don't you? So you know what it's like.
Yeah, of course.
I
mean, so that wasn't a part of your music. Like you didn't have a music teacher, but you were surrounded by music. Was it?
Yeah.
Tell me about music in your family then.
Okay, so my dad was quite a well-known local musician. So when I was born, he was like, he'd been in a pro band called Finders Keepers. So people in Wolves will know that name.
Pro enough that they have a Wikipedia, and I think if you Google it, you will find photos. Correct?
Oh, you will? Yeah, God, yeah, absolutely. So that bought like
Dripper Kent.
Yeah,
that's your dad.
Yeah. So his name was Roy. I have that as my middle name. All right. So
I have that in common with you. Like my dad's middle name. Maybe it's a Wolverhampton thing.
Oh yeah. It's better than Junior, isn't it? Well, his first name, like Roy Junior.
Yeah.
I'd have just changed my name instantly, I think. So he was a well-known local musician.
Was he a singer or?
He was a singer, frontman.
Play guitar?
No.
Just a singer.
Couple of he could strum some basic chords and stuff like that, but he's not a player. He was a singer and a frontman.
I love that.
Flamboyant kind of.
Yeah, so he was like a.
Yeah. He was. In fact, I think, having spoken to other musicians from around that period, my dad was like the main frontman around at that point.
He was known.
Yeah, he was like, bands wanted him.
And this is in the 60s?
60s, yeah. So Finders Keepers did pretty well locally.
And there was a huge scene in the Midlands.
Massive, mate.
Like there's a scene in that it was. I suppose it's been since termed. I don't know if it was called it at the time, but it's been since termed like Brumbeat.
Yeah.
And you had tons of bands and like great venues and a real community around the venues. From what I know, like the dude, Lucy's the dude that I wrote songs with. Yeah, more specific than that, he's my brother-in-law. He's Lucy's brother. He did his dissertation on Brumbeat, so I kind of by osmosis learnt quite a lot. And
wow!
That's where I was thinking where like Dripper Kent came from.
That's what it is. Yeah, they're all over the Brumbeat stuff, mate. Yeah,
Finders Keepers certainly, but it was my friend Jay, his dad. Jay Round, so again the Tangent connection.
Yes,
that's
Richard Round.
Richard Round, and so his dad Pete was the one I. He was like, oh yeah, Dripper Kent.
Well, they lived opposite us as kids, so Pete lived opposite our house. That's how I got to know Rich. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
So they would have gone to watch my dad's band. They used to live opposite our house.
So Pete knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pete was a legend.
Yeah, we were in and out of each other's houses and
cool.
stuff as kids and stuff. So yeah, so Pete Round knew my dad and used to
Dripper
go
Kent,
yeah.
So that's how I was.
The Brumbeat thing,
when we were texting earlier in the week, I was like, how did I hear
crazy
Dripper Kent?
Yeah,
that was how it was. I was like racking my brains, and then I just heard Pete saying it.
Yeah, crazy. That's mad.
And so he's the front man. And Finders Keepers is pro band.
Yeah,
They're paid for shows. They're
they
probably
were
busy
band.
4, 5, 6 nights a week.
They were touring Germany. They were proper. Yeah, they were full on like kind of thing. To the point where Robert Plant mentioned him in a recent interview in the Express and Star and stuff like that. It was like, we used to come to the Lafayette, which was a big club in Wolves.
Huge club, yeah.
So Robert used to go there, and my dad's band would be playing. So, but I think quite weird saying Robert used to look at my dad as like a great front man. Do you know what I mean? And then Zeppelin went on to be like what they were, sort of thing.
Do you do any Zeppelin arrangements?
Not really.
We've jammed.
I listen to Zeppelin all the time.
Yeah, we've jammed Led Zeppelin. But
I'm one of those.
You did. I used to play. Was it 10 Years Gone?
Yeah, I still play it. Yeah, I still play it. I love that track.
It's a great
it's
song.
A monster band, aren't they? So,
So
no, I've kind of play Bronure as well as a solo piece sometimes.
Amazing.
But some bands I won't touch through sacrilege. Do you know what I mean? So I'll just leave that stuff alone.
I have a similar thing, man. Like the Smiths is my favourite band. And, people are always surprised how little of the Smiths guitar parts. Like I can't really play many Smiths guitar parts for the same reason. I want to like retain the magic as much as possible.
I get that.
I know it seems weird.
No, it's not weird at all. But yeah, going back to my dad, so with the whole finders keepers thing, that brought like a big a lot of musical people into our house when I was a kid. So he was also a booking agent for a local agency called Astra.
Oh, I know that. I know that name,
Astra were massive. So God, so many musicians used to come round. Mel Galley was the guitarist in Whitesnake. He used to come into our house. I think Glenn Hughes came round a few times, and Pete Golby, who was the singer in Uriah Heep. I'm still in touch with Pete now.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So Pete's like a close family friend. Also, the guys who used to run One Way Music, so Mick and Roger,
the Californians.
Yeah. So I was like a little kid, and they'd be round.
Their stuff's on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's like Fleet Foxes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's like
they were amazing, mate.
If you release that now, so the Californians were sort of a Beach Boys inspired. I think they're better than the Beach Boys.
Agreed.
Beach Boys inspired Wolverhampton band, and if like a proper like hip band from New York State released that today. Be huge.
Absolutely.
Be huge.
They were great musicians as well.
Yeah, I don't know how far they got down the track with it, but I mean, they ended up with One Way, didn't they? Which is where you worked for a bit.
Yeah. I think they did probably as well as Finders Keepers, if not better.
You reckon,
Yeah, I think so. I think they were as well known, kind of thing. So, yeah, that whole history. But the whole then he went on to work for Astra, which was like a booking agency. So we then used to get like guest passes for like all of the Donington Park things and stuff like that. Yeah. So one of the guys that worked there was a guy called Maurice Jones, who was the actual booker of Donington.
Monsters of Rock,
which is now Download.
Yeah.
So he was the main guy for that. So he used to come around our house as well. And so every like August, we'd get like free VIP passes come through the post.
Which, given the fact that you
like the most exciting day ever.
Yeah, you like the 80s hair, like
oh mate,
the 80s hair metal child,
yeah.
So, that's your year made.
Well, the first gig I ever went to was in 1981, which was AC/DC doing their Back in Black tour, and we got like VIP stuff, and like it was amazing. I was so lucky. And then we'd have all the Donington festivals once a year, and we'd go to all of those. And then I got to watch Van Halen play there in 1984, so I was 10. And like watching him play was like.
I mean, it all starts to make a lot more sense now.
So that's where everything. So that's where the whole guitar bug came from. I've had it since I was a dot,
And it's been like it's been a huge part of. Yeah, that's fascinating, man.
It was cool. The whole Donington thing was a great experience.
Where's what's coming up, Pete? What have you got? Like, obviously, you're due another album, aren't you? Revolver saying...
Revolver is just cool. So Paul Birch, who's the owner of Revolver. So I put out a couple of singles last year, but what I was planning on doing was doing maybe a couple of tracks per year rather than just one album and then a few years later.
It's probably sensible.
I think so. So that's kind of where we'd started to go last year. So I put 2 tracks out, did an arrangement of Sledgehammer.
That's great. I presume you keep the arrangements
Yeah,
kind of a bit under the hat, or
kind of. I haven't got anything currently planned, but I did a clinic tour for Ibanez last year, and there's
that sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was great. So there's potentially some more mileage in that this year. Got a local show coming up at the New Hampton Arts Centre as well.
Let's shout the date for that. This hopefully will come out relatively soon, relatively around a date, I think.
Okay, so 16th of May is that gig, and yourself and Bryony are going to be supporting, which is cool.
It'll be great.
So I look forward to that. So I'm just kind of in the practice mode now for the shows that are coming up. Now, usually what happens when I'm doing that practice is arrangements will come then. And song ideas come. It's just the same as any band or musician, isn't it? So I'm looking for a bit of inspiration for some new stuff to do at the minute. So I'm sure
I think we've just covered so much ground. I think we're probably nearly there. I'd love to hear a Who. Have you ever done any Who?
I do some Who, yeah.
The one I was gonna suggest, like.
I'll do a bit of Won't Get Fooled
Again. Do you do?
Oh, quality. Love a bit of that.
I tried to.
That's a good shout.
Yeah. Like.
Can't explain, yeah. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna with the whole bass and. That's a good shout.
Yeah.
You
get the idea.
See, I do.
Nice. I think I've heard you do that one.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, there you go, folks. I think that is a fantastic place to leave it. Please like this video if you've enjoyed it. And a big thanks to you, sir.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you for coming down.
Lovely to see you.
Let's do it again sometime.
100%.
Subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you next time.
Love the sound of that tack.
It's brutal, isn't it?
Great.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Okay, we're ready to go? 2, 3, 4.
Bruce on that. Good work, mate.